Today is a special day. Today is a very special day. Ah, got it. Special days call for donuts. Yay! What's so special? What's 20 years of your life? What's 20 years? Some of you guys are not even 20 years old. 20 years. So, like I said this morning, today is a special day. Oh man, 20 years.
Special day.
20 years, one place of business. So, let's talk about what 20 years is. It's 10,000,005 minutes, 175,200 hours, 7,300 days.
7,300?
7,300 days. The world's population has increased from 5.6 billion to 7.2 billion. The largest generation being youth.
Wow.
The birth of smartphones.
7,000 years. Hours.
7,000
days.
No, 175,200 hours. The birth of smartphones, if I counted right, 17 different iPhones from iPhone to iPhone 10. Wow. 17 different models. 4 different presidents.
Wow. Bill, George, Obama, Trump.
Got it.
Wow.
So, how has it affected you and your family?
For the most part, I think it's had a positive effect on my family, because I feel like if I wasn't working, I'd probably be doing something that's not very productive. So as far as that, and I've actually made a decent living here, actually a very good living considering working here. So the only drawback is I spend a lot of time here in that 20 years. I feel like in that 20 years, if I worked 15, I'd probably work 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, as far as that, so in the positive, I would say, well, I made a decent living for my family, so we never had to eat ramen in that time. So, it's been positive.
Do you feel that it's had an overall positive effect on the way you molded and shaped your life? So, you know, you started here as a detailer and have worked your way now to a mainline technician. Has it changed your approach on life?
Well, definitely, because I mean, I've always been a hard worker, but in going through the process of this 20 years, you actually morph into different people over that time span, or you morph into a different person. So at different intervals, I actually became a different person. So because my whole life changed, because you go from being single as a detailer to getting a girlfriend as a loop tech to getting a child as an apprentice to now almost having a high school graduate at 20 years. I mean, that's an expansive life. So everything in my life's changed since I've been here. Literally everything, not only just my appearance, who I am as a person has changed, and I think it's changed for the better. So I can attribute so many good things, positive things in my life to actually being here and working. Yeah.
Do you think it's a continued growth? Have you plateaued?
I think, to be quite honest, I think I've plateaued, and I think it's because mentally, I've hit a wall. So some days are better than others, but monotony kind of catch up on some days. Some days feels very, 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 very monotonous. So it's like, okay, am I happy to go to work today, or am I just going to work today? And the longer I've been, the more of those days I have. But then sometimes I would have a conversation with you, and then I'll get kicked back into gear. Like, bro, we have a good life. We just have different expectations. So it's kind of a balance.
What does 40-year-old Anthony say to 20-year-old Anthony? Looking back.
40-year-old Anthony would say to 20-year-old Anthony, work harder. 1. 2, save your money. And 3, think long and hard of the places you go, the people you pay attention to, and most importantly, work harder.
Would you change anything?
Oh, most definitely. I'll change a lot of things. Because the longer you live, the more things you experience, the more things you have to play back to think, well, I could have done X, Y, Z. So my aspirations was never really to be a technician. It kind of fell into my lap, and I feel like I took full advantage of it. But as far as being my end game, I think I should have just used the opportunity to, instead of, this is just going back, instead of like starting a family, I should have went back to school, because my end game was to be a teacher. I've always wanted to be a teacher, and I still do. But you know how it is, and you start making money and you become comfortable. So I got comfortable with where I was. So I didn't push myself anymore. So that's why your previous question, I said I should have worked harder. Yeah, all that encompasses, maybe I should have went back to school and at least got a teaching certificate. So I would have something to go back to if I decide, this is not really what it is anymore.
What advice would you give to the young men and young women on the other side of that wall that aren't even 20 years old yet?
That's a long list, but most importantly, I would tell them to put the smartphone down and go and stand next to someone that's actually working. Because you learn so much visually anymore. They don't realize you learn a lot of things visually. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't necessarily have to be the smartest person to learn things, because a big part of what we do is with your hands. But if you have no idea because you haven't seen, it's gonna be even harder for you. So if you take the initiative and go stand with somebody and have them guide you, you'll be all the better for it. And I'm a perfect example of that. I never went to school for this. I just, hey, I'm going to Rick Murray, hey, I'm gonna go stand with Rick. Bedell, let's go, we cracking. That's how it was. So I would tell these kids to put the smartphone down. Any downtime you have, go stand next to a guy that's working. Ask questions, pick his brain. You see him doing something, you don't understand what he's doing, ask him, why are you doing this? What broke? How did you figure out that broke? X, Y, Z. And that's that's gonna lead you to where you need to be as far as getting knowledge, because everything is knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the better you are.
So lastly, is this a thing of the past? Is there 20-year employees 20 years from now? Or is it, or are you a dying breed?
I would
this
say,
milestone?
Oh yeah, this is definitely a milestone for the ages, because everybody's mobile now. Everything's mobile. You know what I mean? Mobility is king right now. No one stays because the competition. There's so much competition anymore, and people don't have a problem being mobile. Like how I was raised, being mobile was frowned upon because it seemed like you were unsettled, like you were not. You were not being productive because you're always bouncing. So you're not really engaged fully into whatever it was you were doing. You're always looking for the next opportunity. That's how I was raised. My mother's the same way. My mother has 30-something years on her job. My grandfather retired at 38 years at his company. So that's kind of how I was raised. So, but like I said, nowadays everything is mobility, and people don't settle for. They get unhappy one day and it's like, all right, I'm gone. I'll find something else to do. So I would say it's not going to be very many more times you're going to have somebody that's say, oh, I've worked at the same company for 20 years. That's going away.
Well, just in the, it's not been a short time since we've worked together. We worked together for 12 years now, and I just really wanted to say
12 years.
12
wow.
years. 12 years.
That's crazy.
I've always appreciated our ability to work together, and more than that, I've appreciated the fact that we have developed a wonderful friendship, and I know I can count on you, and you can count on me. And just, thanks for always being there.
That goes without saying. You know you're my man. Everything.
All right. Wrap.
Joby 1 Kenobi.